Started. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the August 2nd San Dimas Rotary meeting. My name is Steve Scott. I am the president of the club. Again, welcome, everybody. Before we get into introductions, it looks like we have an update possibly on the fashion show, Raymond.
Well, actually, it's the 2026 committee is meeting this evening. You know, we're having the fundraiser, the casino night fundraiser. And that's going along gangbusters. That'll be on 9/8 at the Plumber Building. And it's all coming together very well. There will be a committee meeting this evening. But the most important part of it is the precursor for us in learning how to do this so we can do our tequila pour / fundraiser. So that's the event. I've sent the email out to all the members, and that's it.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. That's just for the record, that's mistake number 3. Take a look at your agenda. But that's all right. We'll let you slide on it.
Thank you. Right. No, I have no update on the fashion. I don't. Well, that's why I asked what. I have nothing.
Okay. Moving on. Let's introduce the spokes. Casey, why don't you say hello to everyone? Oh, Casey.
I'm coming. Oh, there we go.
There he is.
Hey, good morning, good afternoon, whatever time of the day you're watching this. Welcome to the Rotary of San Dimas. My name's Casey. I'm a past president and an active member of our Rotary Club. Looking forward to making sure we have good community relations and connections all throughout our city. I'm an active life coach, health coach, and all around get you where you want to get to have your goals come true. Hope you're having a good day today in the Rotary.
Thanks very much, Casey. Anthony, how are you today?
Good. How's everybody else doing? Sitting here, work, so no camera today, but I'm just excited for the speaker today and do as much as I can within the community to help with our schools and build those relationships. So
fantastic. Happy to have you here. Brandon Moon, how are you today?
I am fantastic. Brandon Moon, fellow Rotarian, CERT member, co-chair for the 2026 committee that Raymond just spoke of. Super excited to get the interest going throughout the city. It looks like a really awesome event, and can't wait to get all the material out to everybody to get the interest.
Fantastic. Thanks, Brandon. And Mike Wallace.
Here.
Hi, everyone. Mike Wallace, I'm president of Better Home Financial. Been a Rotarian for over 8 years now. And involved in a lot of things throughout the city, and I'm just happy to be here serving the community.
Fantastic. And Raymond.
Hey, everybody. So we're all watching and past president and enjoying being past president for about a month now. But that's it. Great.
All right. Fantastic. Is that all we have here? I don't see anybody else, but I want to make sure I don't miss anybody. All right, we're good. Well, let's move on to the reason that we are here, and that is our speaker for today. We have Larissa Matzek. She is the Executive Director of Crossroads Inc. Larissa, welcome. Thank you for taking the time to come speak to us today. Why don't you start by telling us a little bit about yourself and then what you do with Crossroads Inc.
Sure. Hi. Happy lunchtime to everybody. My name is Larissa Matzek. I'm the Executive Director of Crossroads Incorporated. I am a transplant to California. I'm moved out here from Boston, but 2.5 years ago. I have spent my career managing nonprofits and working for nonprofit organizations. I have a particular interest in criminal justice issues from the not from the victim side. Not that I don't understand the victim side, I completely do. But from the perspective of the people who have been affected by the criminal justice system, and had worked on that when I was back in Massachusetts, and when I came out to California, I started working for Crossroads. I've actually been here about a year. Sister Terry, who some of you may have met in the past, she ran Crossroads for 33 years before I got here. So big shoes to fill. And yeah, coming up on a year. So it's been good and glad to be here with you guys this morning. I've been out to a couple of the other Rotaries and different clubs, but it's nice to meet more people in the community. So that's a little bit about me. So am I supposed to go right into my presentation from that? Okay.
Please do. Yeah.
All right. So does it make sense to share my presentation? Is that, because I don't know how many of you are actually going to see it, because I can see your cameras. Obviously, your cameras aren't on, or I can just talk, whatever works.
The screen
Well, if you
sharing
want to
is
share your screen, Raymond should have that set up for you. So
Okay.
go right ahead.
Let's give it a go then. All right. So, all right. Let's set this up. There we go. Okay. All right. That looks good. All right. So, as I said, I'm here to talk about Crossroads this morning. Well, noontime, middle of the day. And I'm going to go through and tell you a little bit about Crossroads. I'm also going to talk a little bit about mass incarceration and what that is, and some of the statistics across the country and some things happening in California as well. So, all right. So we're a reentry program for formerly incarcerated women. I do want to say that we also serve members of the LGBTQIA community. So we do, even though we were established as a program for women, we do also serve people who may identify as men or may identify as non-binary. So we've been around since 1974. We're coming up on our 50th anniversary, and we actually in 2024 we'll be having our 50th anniversary, and we'll definitely let you all know. So hopefully some of you can come. So we provide housing, education, support, counseling, and employment readiness. And there's a lot of other things we do too that, you know, you wouldn't even think of. You know, sometimes people, when they get out of incarceration, obviously a lot of people have medical needs, dental, medical. We help people with all those appointments. They don't have an ID. They may not have, you know, the birth certificate or their social security card, you know, things that you need to get a job, things that you need to get an apartment. And so we help with all those sort of things too. Oh, what? Okay. All right. Our primary goal is to help women and other people in the community with new skills to help them move out of the revolving door of prison and move towards economic independence. Today, almost 2 million individuals, disproportionately Black and Brown Americans, are incarcerated. And the U.S. Has only made a very small inroads towards working on mass incarceration, even though crime is dropping. You know, we've seen longer prison terms for nonviolent sentences, and just longer prison terms in general. So mass incarceration started in the 70s, and this is the 50th year that we've seen this prison surge. What we see in the prisons are there's racial and ethnic disparities. You know, more people in prison are Black and brown, and you know that's obviously very significant. We have to sort of look at that and say, well, why is that? You know, and some of the things we're going to talk about, I'm going to talk about now. We find a lot of police interaction with people who are Black and brown. We also find worse sentencing, stiffer sentences for people of color. Black men are 6 times more likely to be incarcerated as white men and Latinx. So we see a really high level of interaction in the system with Black men. And 1 in 81 adults in the U.S. is serving time in state prison, which is pretty crazy to think about. The United States has the highest incarceration in the world, and it makes up to 5% of the world's population, which is pretty shocking because you'd think a country like the United States, where there's a lot of opportunity, in many ways, we're very modernized, but yet we have these sort of archaic ways of dealing with people and dealing with what things we do with people who are interacting with the criminal justice system. The number of women incarcerated has skyrocketed as well, increasing by 700%. That's a statistic for 2021, but we certainly are still continuing to see that. Many women in prison have experienced physical or sexual trauma. These are really important things to look at. I was actually listening to this great podcast about a woman who had been in a domestic violence relationship, and her partner almost beat her to death, and she shot him and was incarcerated. Understandably, she did take someone's life. She was incarcerated. But one of the things we don't often, think about is how people got to that point, and how, particularly in situations of domestic violence, it's so complex. And so it's just worth noting that when you look at these women, a lot of them have experienced these just horrific things. And so why aren't there solutions to that, right? Why is the solution that eventually they're going to end up interacting with the criminal justice system? Among female prisoners, 2/3 are mothers of a minor child, and over 1.5 million children have a parent in prison. Each year, just to kind of understand what happens with release, 600,000 people are released. And then understanding recidivism, which is that person going to commit a crime again that's going to end them back in jail or prison? Within 3 years of release, a half are reincarcerated, about 50%. So how do you make this transition? How do you make this transition from incarceration to independence? What we believe in, and this is who we are, is reentry, right? The way to have a successful reintegration into society and to avoid going back into prison or jail is to have reentry support or a reentry program. Millions of people are returning to their communities from jail or prison. And how do we make that safe, successful transition? Knowing that there are so many things people need. And one of the things we see a lot is people who, end up homeless coming out of prison because they don't have access to resources. They don't know how to get involved with reentry programs. They fall through the cracks because of mental health issues, all sorts of things. And so reentry is really important, and I'm going to talk more about what we do, but part of it is like reuniting families, eliminating barriers to employment, right? Sometimes people won't hire people with felony convictions. They're obviously not going to hire you without ID, social security card, license, all those things that a lot of people don't always have the means to get those things. And stable housing, right? If you're homeless, it can be hard to get a job and sustain a job. So we're a licensed program. We're licensed by the Department of Healthcare Services. We are a 6-month program. Some people stay a little less, some people stay a little more. And we offer our services at no cost, which is a big deal, because we provide everything. We provide, 3 meals a day, a roof over people's heads, a diversity of programming, and other things too. Right now our program director on Monday nights is taking the women to concerts in the park in Claremont, just kind of having the women be a part of the community where they live, which is important because they've been isolated for, we don't know how long. It sort of depends on what their sentence was, but some period of time. We believe in second chances, right? And so Crossroads, we believe in second and we believe in third chances. We have people who come to us who sometimes they might be here and then they might leave, and then they might call us and say, I made a mistake, I want to come back. And we do give them another chance. It can be very difficult to break cycles, around addiction, poverty, mental health issues. How do you break those cycles? It really takes time. And it isn't a one size fits all approach for everybody. And people are very different and unique. Just like all of you on the call today, you're all different and unique as well. You know, I've been talking about this, but people have multi-layered needs, right? You can't just provide food and shelter. You also have to provide counseling and groups and alcohol and drug education and, you know, help with other appointments with people getting their GEDs. We have some people who are doing college programs, health stuff. We have tattoo removal, you know, which is something you might not think of, but if you're incarcerated and you have tattoos on your face or even on your hands and you come out, you know, that image that you present to the world can create barriers, obviously. And so this is just talking about, we have this supportive living environment and with case management and all sorts of other things we offer. We do a big program on employment, you know, how to be an employee, how to write a resume, how to interview for a job. We do mock interviews because if you've been incarcerated, you don't necessarily know how to interview for a job and what's appropriate to say in a job or not appropriate. I mean, I think a lot of people don't always know that, but definitely the people we work with don't. So we have a 90% success rate for people who come to our program and they stay for that 6-month period. We believe we have seen them become economically self-sufficient and not return to prison. And occasionally we have someone, we got a call today, actually, well, yesterday, our program director got a call from someone who'd been through our program and she's really struggling, you know, and she asked, do you have a space? Can I come back for a couple of months? And we're going to take her back for a couple of months. She just needs a little bit more support right now. She's got a couple of jobs. That's going really well. She wasn't able to sustain her car. And so she just needs a little bit more help right now. And so she's going to come back and we're going to help her out and try to get her back on her feet again. One of our residents, Carissa, she's a really great success story. You know, she's someone who was incarcerated for a good amount of time. And, you know, she's in college now, she's working. And this is just something she said about, you know, I mean, Crossroads really is a family and we have a home-like environment. We're not institutional. There are reentry programs that have, you know, they're all like locked down that feel very much like prison. We have homes, actual homes that feel like a home. And it's really important to us that it is that way and that you feel like you're in a home and not just in an institution. This is interesting. I put this slide up because this is another thing people don't think of, right? There's a salon in Claremont, B. Rosie, and they cut the women's hair and sometimes color their hair. Like, this is not, you know, I mean, she hadn't been, this woman who's in the photograph, I was there that day. She hadn't been to a salon in 10 years. Like, you just can't, it's kind of unimaginable that you wouldn't have access to those things. And that obviously is a barrier to employment too, right? If you can't hygiene and grooming and having clothes to wear. And so we're really grateful for partners like B. Rosie, who said, bring the women in, you know, we'll do their hair, we'll do it for free. They used to just do their hair on Giving Tuesday. And then they said to us, we'll do it anytime, just let us know. So these are some of our government partners. We obviously work with the Department of Parole. We obviously work with the California Department of Corrections, with the Healthcare Services, with the cities of Claremont. We were working with Pomona. We had a house in Pomona. We actually don't have that house anymore. We still have 2 houses in Claremont. And I put a few of our partners, and I put San Dimas Rotary. You guys, thank you. And, you know, we have a number of other partners too. And this is really just a handful of the people. We can't do this work without the support of the community. We get some funding, but it's not even 50% of what we need. And so we have to go for grants. We have to get donations from the community. And so we really rely on the support of the community to make this successful. And then this is our website. If you want to learn more about, we're actually in the process of redoing our website, so I wouldn't necessarily suggest going on right now, but in the next few weeks, or we're hoping to have more up, and we're hoping to include some stories of the women. We're which is really powerful. If you listen to some of these stories, it's just shocking the things people have been through. One of our clients right now, he's been on the street their entire life, actually since they were 7, and they're almost 30. Like, it's just unimaginable. How do you build any type of life when you've been homeless for almost your entire life? So let's stop sharing. That's the end of my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Well, thank you very much for that. Pretty fascinating and great work that you and the organization are doing. I have questions, but I want to see if anybody else has any they'd like to start with. Well, allow me to go then. In terms of transition and reentry, how big of a piece of the equation is psychological in terms of self-acceptance, self-forgiveness, having the courage to think other people will accept and forgive?
Yes, it's a huge piece. I think forgiveness, I'm not sure. I mean, look, is forgiveness important? Of course it is. So, I mean, when you do something and, you eventually do need to forgive yourself. I would say one of the things that I think about more is trust. Because we've been discussing trust a lot recently. And if you haven't had that experience of, you couldn't trust your family, you couldn't trust your friends, you couldn't trust the system, and then you come somewhere like here and we're like, trust us, we want to help you. It can be hard for people to trust. It can take time. And that attitude of kind of like, well, I have to rely on myself. And it's like, well, look where that got you,
Right.
And so I think more about how do you learn to trust that other people are invested in seeing you succeed and in not having you go back to that life.
Right. That makes sense. Have somebody's been on the street since they were 7. They don't know what good intentions are. They don't know that.
Right. And if you've been incarcerated, they
don't
treat you like individuals when you're incarcerated. They don't care what your needs are, so it's like, but we do, right? We care about you as a person.
Right.
So.
Okay.
Did you have another question, Steve? Oh, so sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, somebody else have a question?
I was just wondering the status of the house in Pomona that you guys had for a while.
Yeah, so Crossroads started with one house in Claremont, the Harvard house, and then about 10 or 12 years ago, we got our second house in Claremont, the San Jose house. And then about 3-ish years ago, we had been getting a lot of interest more from the county and the city of LA, and could you open up transitional housing? Would you consider doing this? And so we did. We opened up a transitional home in Pomona. And I don't know if it was I think it was multi-layered why it didn't end up working. One reason it didn't end up working is because the pandemic hit. And so things got pretty crazy. And the second reason was there was no funding. And so now we had to support a third house. And as any of you who are homeowners know, or even if you rent an apartment, it's really expensive. And then the third thing we found, which was really interesting, is a lot of people who went through our program just wanted to go home or go on their own. They didn't want to go into another place where it's like you're still kind of under somebody's like rules, and like they just want to go home and be with their families, or if that's not possible, go into their own apartment where it isn't. There are some programs where the requirements to be in them are very small, and you get housing in exchange. So, but we haven't ever really been like that, but we just found that it really didn't take off. So, and it was a big burden financially with 3 houses, and we're small, we don't have millions and millions of dollars. So, when we looked at it, we were like, this isn't really working. And so we had to, go back to just having the 2 houses in Claremont.
So, what in the last 6-7 years, the California prison population has halved. Has that affected your program at all, from a funding standpoint, or from the people that you get in, or is it still, because it's still a lot of people, but I mean, it's
Yeah.
happening.
Say that first part of the question.
In the last 6 to 8 years, the California prison population has been cut about in half. And I wondered if that had impacted your program at all, as far as funding, or as in the type of people that you were getting in.
Well, it's interesting because while there is a surge in the prison population in general, and if you look at when mass incarceration originally started in the 70s to now, the numbers are outrageous, right? But you're right. Some of the numbers in California have changed somewhat. And we are finding there aren't as many women who are coming out as there were before. Like, some of them were released early, some of them the other thing, actually, my head is kind of turning, is that they changed some of the rules around. It used to be if you served a certain length of sentence, you had a mandatory program. You didn't get a choice to just go home. Now people can just go home. And in fact, sometimes we'll get a referral and they'll say, oh, Susan J is coming to you today at 2 p.m. You never see her because she doesn't have to come here. And parole's not going to track her down and be like, you didn't go to Crossroads. They're just going to be like, what are you doing? What else are you? It isn't mandatory. It used to be mandatory. So it is definitely a more challenging environment right now in terms of keeping the houses full, keeping those numbers up. The thing about us is we're very resilient, and we have a lot of other ideas cooking about how to continue to serve formerly incarcerated people, because that's really where our heart is and our mission is. And so we're looking at more ways that it may be that some of the residential stuff is a little quieter, and it makes sense to add more programming where people can come and go. For those people who don't want to live here, but they still need that help.
You've had one client that is a bus driver.
Oh my God.
No one here has heard the bus driver story. Why haven't you put that and made a video on? That is an amazing.
We actually have some. Yeah, Raymond, you're right. We have some footage of that. It's a little wonky. I don't know why the footage is wonky. We're going to try to do something with that and put it on. So that was one of the things I started to talk about. I'll tell her brief story, but we are working on getting that up. It's just the way it's formatted is a little weird. So we're just trying to figure out how to do it and put it up on the new website. What we're hoping to do is start more storytelling. We have a lot of alumni who've gone out and been successful. A number of people, the success is unbelievable in the change in people. So Bernadette was someone who stayed at Crossroads, and she started working for Foothill Transit. Foothill Transit is willing to accept people with felony convictions, which is amazing. If you did your time, someone should give you at least give you a chance, and they are willing to give people a chance. And it's a big company, obviously, and so they've hired a bunch of formerly incarcerated women. Bernadette was incarcerated for a very long time. I think she was a lifer. I wasn't here when she was here, but I'm pretty sure she was a lifer serving a life sentence. And a friend of hers said, hey, you should apply for a job at Foothill Transit. And she said, why am I going to apply there? I don't know how to drive. I don't know how to drive a bus. That's crazy. And she had an interview with Foothill Transit. She was hoping to do cleaning or something, not do a big thing, and she went and interviewed with them. They loved her, and they said, well, you're going to drive a bus. And she was like, okay. And so they got her driving a bus. She had her route. And now a little over 2 years later, she's a supervisor of like 250 people on their routes. And she's just an amazing success story. And really shows you the changes that people can make with the right support. And I'm not saying Crossroads we're not taking credit for that success, but people need reentry support. It's pretty hard to just go out, as an individual. If you get out of prison, you have nowhere to go. You're going to walk over to Foothill Transit and be like, hey, I want a job. She had a connection through other people who've been through Crossroads, and we have a connection with Foothill Transit, and she got to that place where she knew she was ready to work. And we have a lot of relationships with employers, so it really helps.
Larissa, and people need to hear her speak for two reasons. Number one is she never thought. She's like, I'm a lifer. She went down for manslaughter. I'm going to prison for life. And when they get out, now she supervises on the bus line. But the thing about that is what struck me was if she'd come out and not gone into your program, she wouldn't have had the connection to Foothill. That's Connection House. And the big thing,
right. And even the confidence,
Yeah,
I mean, if
I
you
agree.
come out of prison, you've got nowhere to go. You end up on the street, you end up God knows where. You're not going to have the confidence to even like put yourself out there,
Yeah.
I mean, we talk a lot here about, your past is not who you are now, and let's talk about what we can do to get you set up for success going forward. Being comfortable at a job, being comfortable even interviewing. I mean, even people who are on this call, I'm sure know how hard it can be to interview. But if you've never learned those sort of things, it's even more. It's like, how much do you tell, and how much, because no one wants to hear the whole story, So yeah, she's amazing. And like I said, we hope to have some more of those things up on our website, and I will keep you posted, Raymond. And so then you can let other people know if they want to go and listen or read people's stories. You can also look on our Instagram. We have some things up on our Instagram too. We just put one of our residents, put a piece of his story up there. If you look up Crossroads Women, you can see it on our Instagram or Facebook.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, Melissa, thank you so much for taking time to be with us today. Thank you for the work that you and Crossroads do. It's necessary, it's important, it's courageous. So we really appreciate that. If you feel like we could be a partner in something, we're kind of more of a hands-on club. As you can see, we're not the largest club, so not a big check writing club, but we do like to get our hands dirty. If there's projects you feel like we could be a part of, please let us know.
I will. Yeah, we always need that kind of stuff. We have people who come out and do yard work or fix things in the house. We're always looking for that kind of stuff. So
yeah. I think, Raymond, was it the Pomona house that we did the yard restoration on?
We did, yes. That was
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we had some other group come out and do the yard at San Jose. So yeah, we always need stuff like that. So
well, thank you. We're going to move on. You are more than welcome to stick around, but if you have other stuff you have to tend to, I totally understand.
Yeah, I'm going to go unless anybody has any more questions.
Yeah, Larissa, what was the Instagram?
Oh, Crossroads Women. Let me just double check and make sure I'm saying that right. So on I have it. Let's see, Crossroads. Just want to make sure that's. Oh, sorry, it's Crossroads Inc.
Crossroads Inc.
It's good I looked it up. Yeah. And you're always welcome, any of you, to come to an event. We're having an alumni barbecue in August. If you want to come by and meet some people, you're always welcome to come and learn more about Crossroads and yeah, all of that. So
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate the opportunity to share about the good work of Crossroads, and yeah, it's a really important topic. So I'm glad that you guys wanted me to come.
Yeah, thank you very much, and keep
you.
us posted on everything. Okay.
I will. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Thanks a lot.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Okay. Moving on. Next, we have our fine master, Casey. Take it away.
Hey, well, it is fine to find yourself today. That's what we know. So I'm finding all of you who turned off your camera while she was presenting, and I was the only one left on, required me to stay consistently. So I just find everybody. Now you can find yourselves. What do you want to find yourselves about? What's fine? What's not fine? How are your things going?
Well, I'm gonna find myself $3 for making 3 mistakes. And then also another dollar because I'm fighting the robots. I'm trying to have something delivered, and all I can get is automated text and automated this, and I'm just fighting with robots. So I'm gonna $4 today for fighting robots.
Okay. Anyone
We'll
else?
double it. We'll double it when you win, Raymond.
Find my. Oh, go ahead, Craig. Go ahead.
I found myself $10. We had a kitchen leak, and we're without a kitchen for 2 weeks, but we got our kitchen back.
Oh.
Like, there you go. So we're happy again.
Well, that perfectly piggybacks onto what I'm going to find myself and talk about. This is not a sales presentation, but as an insurance agent, we are right smack dab in the middle of fire season, or at least in the beginning of fire season. If you haven't, talk to your insurance agent. If you own a home, make sure you have enough insurance. Claim costs have gone up 30% in labor, 30% in material costs. The last thing you want to do is have the worst day of your life and lose your home and then not have enough coverage to rebuild. This is a public service announcement. It's really important to talk to your agent right now.
You
That's
know,
all I
Steve,
got.
on your advice, I did that. I called up and did a whole thing with USAA. I'm glad I did. It didn't impact my policy that much, a few dollars, but it's just the fact that it was so out of date, and it was only like 5 years ago. Man, it was out of date.
Oh yeah, 5 years ago might as well have been 25 years ago in terms of what prices have done.
Yeah, absolutely. You're absolutely right, Steve. Thank you for that advice. That's wonderful advice.
Any other finds today?
We're
Okay,
good.
thank you, Casey. Action 360. What do we have today, Raymond?
Well, you know what? First thing I want to put up is this casino night flyer. If you have not seen this flyer, All In for Independence Casino Night Extravaganza. Man, I've had to learn a whole bunch of things to do, like get the insurance for the plumber building and getting an ABC permit. But we got the entertainment is set. We've got one sponsorship already for $250, one of our poker tables. We will have pretty soon a landing page where this will all be taken on online. As you know, when we go through and do the rebuys, each person who gets a rebuy will also be in a flash drawing for a $500 necklace from Elba, or $500 piece of jewelry. But the beer and wine, we're doing it a little differently. The first one is on us, and that's provided by the vendors. And then the vendors, whatever they make in secondary stuff, is theirs, and then they can give us a cut afterwards based on what they make. If they make a lot of money, then we want to get a relationship with them, but we really wanted just to have the beer and wine handled by somebody else and not have to do that. But everything's coming together. I'm really excited. I didn't think it would come together, and so it looks pretty cool. Anybody have any questions on the casino night? And this will be we've got to pick a date and we got to find a location. And this will be the Tequila Pour Casino Night, or Tequila Pour Poker Tournament that we want to do we want to develop it. I already spoke to, I went to Elba, and they're going to do the grand prize. And we talked about a bracelet, but instead of a bracelet, what he's going to do is a pendant. And the pendant will be, one side will be a poker chip, and the other side will talk about, you're the San Dimas poker champion for the thing, for this year. And so we've already got that in the box. And we need a date and a location. Anybody wants to work on this fundraiser with me, let me know. That's what I got.
Ron, thank you. Calendar, do we have that?
We do have the
I'll be a part of that, Raymond.
Great, Mike. I would really like to have you. I think that you'd be a really good asset to have to that for our thing also. We have a great calendar. I'm just going to read it to you rather than put it up on the thing, so you'll know. Tonight will be Carl Munger. He's a retired U.S. Army major at the Satellite Club. He'll be talking about soldier or military person reentry to the civilian workforce. really should be an interesting conversation because this is a huge thing with veterans. They teach you all these great skills like how to go places and kill people, and then it turns out there's not a whole lot of stuff you can do with that in the private sector. So really interesting. We have a board meeting on the 9th. Steve and I will be working on the agenda. The USMC committee meeting, USC dinner is going along. We have another committee meeting. Our next speaker here on the 23rd is a guy named Jordan Fennell, and he's a ghostwriter. What he does is he does ghostwriting on individual biographies. And so I thought it would be a really interesting program. Then we're going to have Samantha Holt for the Executive Director of Armed Services YMCA Camp Pendleton in the evening. In September, we have meetings set. We have our meetings in October, and actually I actually just booked January 3rd. So we got great speakers like all through for the rest of the year. No shadow boxers that I know.
Fantastic. We need one mixed in there at some point.
I'm sure one will get through the cracks.
Well, it'll be interesting. You talk about entry and re-entry and transition for our military members. It'll be interesting to see what challenges they face as opposed to what Larissa talked about today with re-entry and transition. I imagine they'll have some of the same challenges for different reasons, clearly. But
yeah, and last thing, Steve, I wondered why the fine master didn't fine you for not being able to get your laptop to work appropriately. We're a month into this, buddy.
yeah, I have uninstalled and reinstalled my camera 4 times. I don't know what's going on. I think this is technology's way of saying, Steve, you don't belong on camera.
Okay, well, if you want, we can go over to Lone Hill Middle School because I think any kid over there could probably get it to work for you.
Probably not a bad idea. Send one of your many kids or grandkids over here, Raymond. They can fix it.
We're gonna have to find Steve for the conclusion he came to, which is double compared to just not having a camera.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I'll allow it. Okay, everyone. Well, thank you for another great meeting. We will see you next week for our board meeting. And I hope everybody has a great rest of their day.
Hey, real quick,
I did have a question.
Raymond,
after Mike.
Raymond, I got an email today that said consensus was board meeting on August 30th at 6:30 p.m. What's that for?
That's the foundation board.
That's foundation board. Okay. All right. Thanks.
Anthony, you had something, brother? I'm gonna stop.
Did. I think.
Go ahead.
No, I think Steve left. It's okay, but I'll share with you. Dwardy Elks, they do 3rd grade dictionaries for Dwardy all the way up through Laverne. Costs have increased, so they're looking to partner with chambers, rotaries, other entities throughout the different cities to help offset the grants that they've already gotten. And they were inquiring about making a small little pitch to us, and I'm going to float it to Laverne as well, about partnering or coming alongside or supporting in any way if we can. So I wanted to see if that was something we wanted to do.
So they're probably participating in raising a reader, which is dictionaries to 3rd graders, which our club has done in the past. If you'd like to have him come in, why don't you shoot me an email and we can have him come in for Action 360. They can pitch and tell us what they're doing with that. And we're a big education club, so it might spark a passion with somebody. But we have done raising a reader in the past.
Right, and that's what they had said. So I had stopped over at their bowling tournament this weekend and made some connections there. So I'll pass that to you and we'll go from there.
Okay, I'm going to stop the recording.